card 2 days ago, thanking for the desserts that you love. But instead of you can come and ring my door and come in without invitation, and that's a spirit of community, and that's what we should share with the American people, which I believe may lack. I'm not positively sure, but I think that's a start to build a bridge.
I look forward to coming to visit your camps and your youth organizations in the summer. And the sense of community that you're describing is one that I would love.
I'm going to raise my asking.
Yes, you're
I'm going to risk it.
As a matter of fact, I should say that I love the lack of pedagogy which you addressed. And so, as a matter of fact, I think I'm less of a risk than the rabbit here. But my question, my very specific question is, you mentioned the core values of conservative Judaism. It is very clear from what you said that the concept of obligation is one of the core values. Could you make a list of the other values of conservative Judaism according to your opinion?
I certainly can.
Yes.
One other core value of the conservative movement?
Yes, I mean, you mentioned one, which is not consensual, so...
I understand.
Yes.
Which
I applaud.
Is a
There's
commitment...
no Judaism without obligation.
Is a commitment to academic study of classical texts. I cannot study Tanakh, I cannot study Chumash without knowing about the documentary hypothesis. I cannot study Tanakh without reading the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, without reading the Gilgamesh epic, without knowing about the Code of Hammurabi. Okay? I cannot study Mishnah or Talmud without knowing Latin, without knowing Greek, without knowing the history of Jews in Sasanian Persia. I cannot understand all of those things unless I bring to them this type of academic study. That is another core value of the conservative movement. And it is one that I think all 4 of our centers live by. That core value creates all sorts of theological problems, right? So another core value of the conservative movement is to deal with the theological issues which our method of study gives rise to in the first place. And there have been eras in our past when we have avoided trying to do that. And we paid a very dear price for trying to avoid doing that. When I was in rabbinical school, I personally, in rabbinical school, Chumash was never taught. Precisely so that we would never have to discuss what are the theological implications for the conservative movement of the critical study of biblical texts. When I was going through rabbinical school, my professors of Talmud all taught that type of critical study. And almost none of them ever discussed what the theological implications are and how we meet those. We have suffered tremendously because of that. To be honest with you, there are not so many members of the faculty of the seminary in New York, even today, who like to discuss the personal, theological dilemmas that our students go through. I can't tell you how often it happens that a student goes to see a professor of Bible who has been teaching him or her something about there were 4 Isaiahs or more, right? And wants to discuss theological questions. And the professor says to them, go talk to Roth. That's not good enough. It can't be just me who is willing to talk to students about this. There are a few others. There are. But we have to increase their numbers. And that, I think, is the other core value of the conservative movement. But now I add one PS to the core value about chovah, of chiyuv. I always fear, and I tried to make it clear a couple of times in the times that I've spoken here, that the obligation is not only for tefillin and Shabbat and kashrut, but that Jewish law has much to say about how to conduct business, honesty between people, that the mitzvot ben adam l'chavero are no less important in the category of chovah than the mitzvot ben adam l'makom. And if Latin America, about which I know only something about Buenos Aires, has been successful beyond what's happened in New York or Los Angeles, it's in the social issues, the sociological issues, the marching in about with the grandmothers, about all the children who disappeared, right? He just died, right? Even I know that. See, that dictator just died this week. So I think that the Seminario has much to teach the rest of conservative Judaism about those elements of chiyuv. But I also think that the Seminario has something to learn about the other elements of chiyuv. And those, I think, are the core commitments of the conservative movement.
Okay, thank you. Gracias a todos. Vamos a un momento, vamos a tomar algo, comer algo, brindar.
Exagerada
I always talk about
One, you can discuss when taking something to